Five Nights at Freddy's, or FNAF for short, is a game franchise so impactful that it sparked an entire new genre of horror games. It also sparked a metric ass ton of fan games, some of which are very polished and well made, while others are... yeah. Today, we're talking about one of my personal favorite FNAF fan games, Popgoes, and why I believe it still holds up as an iconic early FNAF fan game worthy of its spot in the fanverse initiative. So let's start from the beginning, shall we? Night 1 starts off like any other FNAF game. You're seated in front of a computer with a phone in your hand that has your camera system on it. You can look up to check the vent above you, more on that later. Look to your left and you'll realize you're not in an office and there's an animatronic badger sitting on the other side of the room. Turn to the right and you'll see a window with a sign holding Crow outside, more on that bastard later. Turn to the right to look behind you and you'll be greeted with the show stage and the band, composed of the squirrels Sarah and Saffron and the titular Popgoes the Weasel. You're then greeted by the phone call from the owner of Popgoes Pizzeria, Fritz, who greets you and explains your duties as the new night guard and explains that the animatronics are responsible for running the pizzeria during the day. Night 1 serves as a great introduction to what I think really made this game stand out among the sea of fan games at the time: the mechanics. Unlike most FNAF fan games of the time that adopted the sit and survive style of gameplay where you sit in one place as the threats come to you, Popgoes will move from the show stage to camera 4, and from there he will go into one of the party rooms and attempt to use the 3D printers to print pieces of the Black Rabbit and bring them to the table behind you. If he assembles all 6 pieces of the Black Rabbit, it's game over. In order to stop Popgoes, you have to press the room shutdown button to cut power to the room he's in. Black Rabbit isn't the only way to get jump scared though. Watching the cameras raises your panic meter located at the bottom left hand corner of the screen. If the meter reaches full, you have a panic attack and get jump scared by one of the animatronics. God, the image of the reflection of Popgoes' eyes in the monitor as he's looming behind you before jump scaring you is just the icing on the cake. To lower your panic meter, you have to look out the window. If your panic is getting out of hand, Stone the Crow, who's usually outside the window, will start appearing in the cameras as a hallucination, obscuring your view of the room and causing your panic to rise, showing cryptic statements like, "He's lying to you," straight up just saying, "We will kill you." Night 1 helps you get into a rhythm of lowering your panic and keeping track of Popgoes that will be built upon in the later nights. Once you finish tonight, you'll hear a familiar jingle. And are thrust into the first of many FNAF 3-esque minigames. There are minigames like this in between every night. You wander around a strange, flesh-like maze controlling Stone the Crow, the sign-holding animatronic that stands outside the window. The minigame ends when you find what appears to be Balloon Boy suspended by wires, and the screen fades to black before progressing to the next night where things start to pick up. It's at this point that I should mention the phone calls are pretty uneventful and don't really explain the new mechanics outright, but from this night on, after the call is over, you can select from a list of topics and hear a pre-recorded answer that can provide extra bits of lore. I will admit that it gets a bit annoying in the later nights when the animatronics are way more active since the options replace the camera controls until you select one. Night 2 is pretty much the same, except Popgoes starts moving almost immediately, proving that the training wheels are off. The 2 squirrels, Sarah and Saffron, also activate on this night. They'll hop off the stage and head to the staff room and climb into the vents. They'll start in vent 6, which you can check on the vent cameras. They'll move from each vent until they get to the vent above you. If they get to that point, they'll snag your Weaselware phone, taking away your ability to use the cameras and your panic to start filling rapidly until you die from a panic attack. To stop them from progressing, you have to turn on the heater in the vent to keep them at bay. It only lasts for about 10 seconds before turning off. Again, it feels really rewarding once you get into the rhythm of turning on the heater, tracking Popgoes, and managing your panic. On night 3, Blake the Badger becomes active, adding one more beat in the rhythm of the gameplay. Blake will occasionally stand up from his chair and enter the server room on cam 7. When he's in cam 7, he'll cause the screen in that room to turn a certain color. To get him out of the server room, you have to press the button on the console in front of you of the corresponding color and press the badger button on your left like the game of Simon Says. This will call Blake out of the server room directly to you, and looking to your left will give you quite the jump as Blake will be standing there next to you, but don't worry, he won't kill you. If you don't get him out of the server room in time, he'll cut off your camera feed, causing you to die from, you guessed it, anxiety. Man, this night guard just like me for real. So now you don't only have to worry about Popgoes and the sensational squirrel girls, but you also have to worry about your computer getting turned off. Thankfully, you don't really have to check on him that often. I managed just fine by occasionally checking cam 7 while dealing with the other threats. Honestly, it's not that bad as long as you keep your panic down to keep Stone from blocking all the cameras. I lost a few attempts at that red-eyed bastard, but once I got into the rhythm and managed my panic better, I was able to beat the night no problem and move on to night 4. From this night on, Stone the Crow actually becomes active. Now, whenever you look out the window to lower your panic, there's a chance that Stone will turn his head and look at you, causing your panic to rapidly increase. As if this animatronic couldn't get any more annoying. Fritz also reveals that he was in some sort of accident when he was younger. I wonder what he could be referring to.
Was that the—
Nah, that hadn't happened yet when this game came out. Unless. Anyway, Night 4 isn't anything too crazy, the animatronics are just way more active. Night 5 is also more of the same, and Night 6 is just way harder. After beating Night 6, we get the bad ending with the message, "Find the truth." That's right, this game has a secret ending with lore. Hello Internet and welcome to Game Theory! Popgoes has surprisingly deep lore. Mind you, it only takes the lore of the first 3 FNAF games into account. So, Fritz, the owner of the pizzeria, was actually the victim of the Bite of 87. Yes, that one. Except in this canon, Toy Bonnie was the culprit and Fritz wasn't a child, he was a teenager when it happened. Fritz survived, but was left in a coma from his injuries until an anonymous donor donated large amounts of blood to the hospital. Turns out his brother Simon was the purple guy, and he killed the kids for their blood to save his brother Fritz. Events pretty much unfold the same, with Simon getting spring-locked and Fazbear Frights burning down. In the meantime, Fritz has a daughter that he names Bonnie so he can associate the name with something he loves again. Fritz is plagued by nightmares of the FNAF 2 animatronics, so to stop his nightmares, he uses his engineering know-how to build advanced dream catchers. Eventually, he would turn these dream catchers into the Popgoes animatronics. Fritz would also buy everything that was salvaged from Fazbear Frights in an auction. One of these items was Springtrap's head with Simon's skull still inside. In an attempt to revive his brother by creating a lifelike animatronic named Simon, that's right, a secret animatronic that can not only talk, but is programmed to learn and evolve. Horrified of what he had created, Fritz kept Simon chained to a wall in his office. Now with that backstory out of the way, we get to the events of Popgoes. A few days before the start of the game, Fritz accidentally murders his daughter Bonnie in a bout of PTSD when she attempts to help him overcome his fears by wearing a Toy Bonnie mask. He chops her up into 6 pieces with an axe and doesn't realize it's her until the axe cracks the face mask. Bonnie's soul then haunts the pizzeria waiting for a body to possess so she can get revenge, the Black Rabbit. Horrified at what he'd done, Fritz programs Popgoes with the command "Save Bonnie," which is why he goes around printing out pieces of the Black Rabbit in the image of Toy Bonnie for the spirit to possess. This is where the secret ending comes in with classic FNAF puzzles. In the death screens for each animatronic, including the Black Rabbit, there are codes and timestamps hidden. One is the time in seconds, another is a camera number. If you go to a specific camera on each night at the specified time, you'll find Simon on the camera. You have to act quickly because he doesn't stick around long. You have to press the button that matches his eye color. Doing this will cause him to disappear. Beat the night like normal and you'll be taken to the minigame, but it's different. You hear a robotic voice spelling out words, and you'll hear these in all the minigames after this. They spell out the phrase, "Fritz made a big mistake. He wants her back. They obey. Save Bonnie." If you walk around, you can find Simon and he'll empower the animatronics into the Lux animatronics. This time, when you find the toy animatronics, they'll fall apart and be destroyed. Do this on each night and beat night 6, and in the final minigame, you'll play as the Black Rabbit, get empowered, and kill Fritz. You'll also be treated to a cutscene. So what exactly happened? Well, turns out you're not a human night guard. You play as Strings, another one of Fritz's repurposed dream catchers. Simon manipulates you to gain the confidence to talk Fritz into connecting him to Weaselware, the pizzeria's operating system. Once connected, Simon uses the 3D printers to print the Black Rabbit, which gets possessed by Bonnie and kills Fritz, and Simon breaks free and shuts String down and is finally free. This was originally meant to set up a sequel, Popgoes: The Dead Forest, which was eventually cancelled. Popgoes was the first FNAF fan game that actually made me get invested in its lore and story. I remember watching Dawko play this game and stream himself looking for Easter eggs and the secret ending and beating Impossible mode. It's kind of been blown out of the water by other fan games that came out in the years following its release, but Popgoes will always have a special place in the fandom and in my heart. Sure, the animatronics look kinda weird, and the gameplay gets kinda stale once all the mechanics are introduced, but the game more than makes up for those shortcomings with its deep lore and Easter eggs. Popgoes made such an impact on the fanbase that it got accepted into the Fanverse initiative for an official remake titled Popgoes Evergreen that looks like it's going to be absolutely amazing, and I can't wait. Thanks for listening to me gush about one of my favorite FNAF fan games. Let me know what your favorite FNAF fan games are in the comments, and consider subscribing. I'm the Wildcard, and I'll see you next week. Peace.